and started to volunteer. And so I connected with volunteers or defenders in Ukraine, and it was basically being on call 24 hours. And it's something that I really felt the need to do. I really wanted, I needed to do it. I needed to help. But at the same time, it was very taxing because there were few instances when we lost volunteers, that we work with, like we were in contact with them. Next day they were killed. It was really, I was losing my balance, and my friends from the studio, not only balance, I was losing myself completely in this work. And my friends from ceramic studio, I think they sensed it, and they started to pull me back into. They say, "Oh, maybe there is a project we can work in. Just why?" And I think in a way, I have some sanity now because they pulled me back, and they started to work a little bit. But however, I still didn't do any figurative work. It was sort of I in my previous practice with ceramics, I used to do a lot of graffiti work. It's like etching on the surface of the clay, and I still couldn't do it. And I know it's not unique for me. I know Mark Rothko, the painter. He's after the Second World War, he couldn't do any figurative work for the same. So it's the sentiment that's probably many people. It's not the sentiment, actually, it's the reality. It's the work, the events of our life change our work. So but I had one encounter that changed it. I took a workshop with Japanese American artist Shoko Teriyama, and we talked a little bit, and she talked about her experience as an artist after the Fukushima disaster. And she telling me that like Japanese deities was kind of making a way to the surface of her pots. And I thought about it a little bit, and it sort of, I guess it gave me some internal permission to do. And I thought, okay, like, what can I do along the same line? And without too much thinking, I was working on the vessel. I started to I etched motanka. So the motanka is a Ukrainian guardian doll. People make it. It's actually very interesting. It's present in many cultures. Like similar dolls exist in Middle East and exist through the in the Eastern and Central Europe. So these dolls are made. You can see one on the right on the screen. They're made from upcycling the old clothes. Family clothes, something left in the family from generation before, or just like something that's torn, and making them to a doll. And one of this special characteristic of this doll, it doesn't have any facial features. So it's like nobody's or everyone. It's not a voodoo doll. You cannot do things with her. The only function of this doll, guardian doll, to protect the house against bad thing and the family. So it's made with intention. It's actually a very interesting meditative process because it's done without scissors or needles. I have a friend who learned how to do it and now teaching others. So anyway, I thought about motanka, and I was working on the shape. It looks like sort of a boat or a leaf, and I didn't think much and just inscribed the motanka, sort of like motanka. And because, I'm a ceramicist, in this culture, you always think what's on the of the pot, on the side on the bottom of the cup, the side that's kind of unseen. And because, I really like poetry, and I frequently have a poem, going on the back of my mind. I just inscribed a poem that was on my mind. It was Vasil Sto's poem. So telling you a little bit, and then, you know, I sort of like it, put it aside, woke up next morning and started to think what it's look like. And I realized that my Motanka looks pretty much like a mosaic of Aranta in San Sofia Cathedral. It's a huge, so it's a 10th century mosaic from the 10th century. And so there is a legend that Kiev will stand why this mosaic is there, you know, and it's the Saint Virgin Mary with protective gesture of, it's a gesture of protection. And Vasil Stos, I have to tell a little bit about him because not many people know about him, though he was one of the best poets of the 20th century, not only Ukrainian poets, but I think it's he was nominated on the for the Nobel Prize at the year he was killed. He spent 20 years in the Soviet camps, and he was put there just basically because he wanted to be Ukrainian poet, you know, and he was a Ukrainian poet, and he was proud Ukrainian poet. And so there is a translation into English of the poem that I inscribed at the back of the style. And it's about Ukraine. You are still suffering in pain, still ripped in bits and raggedy, already toughened and untamed. You have stood tall for liberty. So this is how the series started. And I look at the style and I thought about actually not how much I like the style, but how much it helped me. How much the process of making the style let me get something from my aching mind or heart from me out. And it felt like actually that I actually doing something, putting my energy into the style, and it goes to the world. So it's, and I started to make the styles responding to the events in Ukraine, or responding to the poems that I read on social media. Because there are what happened with so people publish, you know, in response to the event, pretty much it's frequently you can guess what events triggered the poem. And there are a number of poets who write from the front lines. And I know, Ellen, you talk about Maxim Krivtsov, who was killed recently. So this is a poem of Pavlo Vyshababa, and that's called My Generation, Moje Поколение. So, and this is, you know, I wanted to show this little excerpts because it's about language. It's about power of Ukrainian language. If you, like us, are reading this out loud, full of joy, relentless, and in Ukrainian, this means only one thing: our dignity wasn't crushed. So as the number of the styles grew on me, I started to think what I'm doing with that. Because I didn't have an idea for installation. I didn't know, and I was just, you know, I understood that somehow these poems, like those of the poems who were not translated to English, must be translated. So it's, but the tiles grew, the number was growing, and I still wasn't sure what I'm doing with them. So, and then I wanted to tell you about, and two of the poems that made there by Maxim Krivtsov. And I didn't know who Maxim was before the war, but at the beginning of the war, I was helping. So I was working with the group helping Chernihiv, that was siege. And one of the volunteers posted this post on Facebook. It's a song. I will play it for you. Hopefully it will work. And
Hello everybody, it's your Cash. Друзі, це вже третя наша спільна пісня з Максимом Кравцовим. Часу записати в студії то нема, але я і вам так заграю на гітарці. Як то кажуть, воюємо і на культурних фронтах також. Максим, дякую за текст тобі, друже. Прем'єра. Там, де ти панівна висота, я реально готую свій штурм, щоб уникнути всіх тортур, коли небо відкриє уста. Готуватиму довго свій план, розрахую які буйбика, порахую тихенько до 100, там, де ти панівна висота. Не чекатимеш, не заснеш, запечатана і замріяна, лоскотатимуть трави звірами, літа зимами, Боже, вір мене, забере мене над сузір'ями божевілля, Боже, вір мене, збережи мене над сузір'ями божевілля, Боже, вір в мене, Боже, вір в мене. Схил важкий, підніматися тяжко, я зберу свої сили докупи, та туман розлягається кучно, захищає тебе, як той купол, заховає в шарах молока, та парний солодкий туман, там підмогу літо й зима, підготую ретельно свій план.
So I will cut it short, but I will send you a link for this. I'm trying to figure it out how to return to my slides, and I apologize for. So, and there are two poems by Maxim that made it to the series, and it's a bit hard for me to talk about it because I just remember, you know, when I wrote Maxim that we are translating his poems and we are doing this work, he gave the warmest response from all poets. He was happy as a child, you know, he was just really, it's so great, you know, it's wonderful project. I'm so glad that you're translating it. And I was so happy. He responded like, he said, I cannot see the images because I'm on the front line, you know, like I don't have the data, but you know, but he was definitely, he was happy about this. So this is one of his poems, and I think for the sake of time, I will show you the app that has all poems instead of me reading them. So this is the web app that we built. I've got a grant for this project, and can you see the screen with the grant, or you still see the slides?
Yeah. We cannot still see the slide, just the black square with white print.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the web app that we built, and there are. I will show you how it works, and I will send you a link, and you can. This is the style that I was showing you, and you can read a little story about each style, and you can read text of poems in English and Ukrainian, and you can play.
A strand of sky. A strand of sky, gray like a creamy mushroom soup, threads the war needle. The autumn ear listens to the voices of shells, convincing as a priest's voice at communion. I walk past a black sea of sunflowers. They are still, like monuments. I run faster and dive in, splash, to lie still, to become one of them. Like Arya Stark counted the names of those she will take vengeance on, I count the names of those whom I need to avenge. Darkness swallows the room, like when you take Gidezepam, while I count. Roman, Rex, had ginger hair, like a ginger cat. His haircut lasted only briefly, like a brief speech. He smiled more often than he talked. He was killed near Moshchun in early March. 1. Viocha, none. I recall how long it took him to find the perfect angle for a photo of cornflowers against the background of the Dnisto Canyon. He kept on taking pictures while fighting in March of 2022. They burned him alive near Kiev. Kolya, Bark, a machine gunner. He retired in 2019. The first thing he did was go to a shelter to adopt a big old white dog. Kolya was killed near Bakhmut, together with Rudy. 3, 4, and all the way till 30, or till infinity. But here, even 1 is eternity. I can keep on counting. Cornfield of memory, sown with grief. Will it bring harvest? The alarm clock of war woke up both the living and the dead, animals and insects, birds and streets. It got cold. Who will share a blanket or let me inside their sleeping bag? When someone asks me what war is, I will answer, names. Black sea of sunflowers, take me in. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So this is I sent you a link for the app, and there are 24 poems in translation to Ukrainian poems and translation into English. So please, if you're interested in this, you can read more. And Ella, how much time do I have?
Just whatever you need to do. I mean, officially like 8 more minutes, but we can be a little
Yeah,
bit.
okay. So I have 2 more slides that I want to so and you know, this project, this Guardian passage, this is the project that seen 2 shows. But it's sort of, I don't think for me is not an end of it, because I'm thinking about project dedicated to Ukrainian poets in a different way, to the poets who were killed from the beginning of the war. It's about, so Ukrainian PEN reports that there are over 70 writers who were killed from the beginning of the war. Some, they were killed on front lines, they were killed by missiles and shells. And I think when the poet is killed, what remains is the books, the words. And I want to find a way for the world to see and read and to understand these poems. One of the poets that was killed in the summer is Victoria Melina. She was killed by a rocket. She returned to Ukraine in the first day of war. I believe she was I think she had a dual citizenship. She was in the States, but when the war started, she returned, and she did a lot of work investigating war crimes and working with women and working with people who in the areas that were liberated. She recovered diaries of another poet, Volodymyr Vakulenko, who was killed in March, and published on it. So she was just 37 years, she knew that her work puts her in danger, but anyway, she continues. So she was 37 years old. I want to read you the poem in translation to English, and it will be the end of it. When Mira was leaving her house, she took a bit from a little box. When Tim was leaving his town, he picked up a pebble from the street. When Yarka was leaving the garden, she took an apricot kernel. When Vera was leaving home, she didn't take anything. I'll be back soon, she said, and took absolutely nothing. Mira grew a little box out of the bit and is growing in a new house in a box. Tim started a new city of the pebble. The city is like his hometown, only there is no sea. Yarka planted the apricot kernel. Yarka's garden grows from the kernel. And Vera, who didn't take anything, tells this story. When you are fleeing home, she says, the house behind you is growing smaller. To get shelter, the house turned into a gray pebble, a bead, a last year of apricot's kernel, the piece of glass breaking your palm on the long way, the leopard, the seashell from Crimea, the sunflower seed, a button from Dad's uniform. The house fits into your pocket, and there she sleeps. The house should only be taken out when it's safe, when you're ready. The house will gradually grow, so you'll never be without your home. And what did you take with you? I took only the story about coming back. Here, I pulled it to the light. It's growing. So I'm looking for a space to house. Currently, I'm looking for the space to house an exhibition dedicated to Ukrainian poets. If there is a museum or library in your city that would be interested to host it, please write me. We can think about it, how to build a house for this.
Irina, can you stop sharing so we see each other?
Yes.
It can also be in Shambhala Center. Exhibition.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening, and I know it's hard and painful, but I'm so grateful that Ella and you allowed me to share this work.
There is a chat, Ira, with questions. Can you look?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, it's interesting. Boulder Library Space, yeah. Yes, bookstore, I don't know, because it's like it needs some guide, like there should be some safe space, you know, like I think more about the space in the library that can be locked at night or something, you know, like, but if the bookstore has a gallery, it may be interesting. Yeah. The space, it depends, you know, on the, like, because there is a since I started the project, I built a ladder of songs, and I keep doing. I'm working on the project dedicated to Maxim Krivtsov. It's a boat of boats, you know. It will, you know, so the original passage, the original installation that you've seen, it's 4 by 4 feet in the kind of projection to the floor.
So you need 4 by 4 by 8, something like that kind of space?
4 by 4, it's just the only space that installation takes. It should be space for people to walk around, obviously. Yeah, so something if the community, maybe literally museum, you know. So I will put my email here in the chat. And if you think of something, please let me know.
There is another question from Joseph, Irina.
Mhm. Yes, I'm in Ann Arbor. Oh, yes.
As a biostatistician, is that what Ella was trying to say?
Yes.
I thought you might know my brother who's on the medical school faculty.
Yes, I have to look, you know, because I work with doctors a lot. I analyze medical data.
Okay.
Yeah, I will check. Thank you. Thank you very much for your responses. Thank you, Gabriela, and thank you all for listening.
Ira, thank you. It was just incredibly touching, and we mentioned these two poets, Victoria and Maxim. We talk about them, and you added so much more insight to their life and poetry. So
Yeah,
very,
I
very
wish
important.
I wish I never met Maxim in person, and when you approached me, I just had this correspondence with him. The last one was 3 days before he was killed. I was telling him that I may be in Kiev in spring, and maybe you can sign the book, and we can think about, you know, how to translate.
So you're going in Kiev?
That's the plan. I have tickets to fly to Krakow.
Well, be careful. Be safe.
Yeah, it's kind of we are still evaluating this, you know, but that's the plan. Thank you.
Ira, did you send a link here? Well, I am recording this so we can see it on our website. If you don't mind, Irina.
I don't mind. So this is another. I reposted the link to the app again in the chat.
Do you? I don't see it. Okay.
Irina?
Yes.
I was keeping some of the like little screenshots, snapshot from the presentation. I saved it. Can I click that link? It's a little bit easier to see. The video is going to have everything, but if I share
Yeah,
that,
I understand what happened. I did direct message to one of you, but I didn't. Now it should be seen to by all, the link to the web app.
Ellen, can you save a screen and send Irina? I'm not sure she read everything. Or maybe you do, I don't know.
oh no,
I'm trying to.
I did a little bit. I just took some screenshots. It's not complete. It's just easy. If people click it, it's just a little bit. And the email and the Guardian app linky.
Can you see if you like just before Beverly? So just few responses. I think it's the link should be there. You know, I can see it.
Yes, and Zep said about Shambhala Center. Yeah, Zep, it totally works, right? Shambhala Center. And also, Francie asked you, how can we support beside exhibition?
So we are thinking, you know, if the project. So I talked to translator who translated Maxim's poems before. You know, she's very interested to continue to work on translating his poems. So the funding for translations would be important if, like, it's somewhere at preliminary stages discussing it. But at some point, if we go ahead with the project, because like there is part that exists with poems translated, but for the new part dedicated to Maxim, new translations are needed, and potentially some funds for transportation. It's not on the books yet because we are looking for a space. We are talking to Ukrainian museums, but not, they don't like. But the funding for translations that may be very much needed.
Do you have a link for that?
I don't have a link for that.
You can send me later, okay?
Yes, yeah. Because it would be wonderful, because the way how she did the two poems, I really like it, like how she preserved the music. And her name is Oksana Rosenblum. She lives in New York, and she did a wonderful job translating. Yeah, I put my email.
Elizabeth, she did put her email where now it's far away. You got to think you should do it again.
I did it.
Okay, I see it, yeah. And you can always email me. Gabrielle?
I just wondered who read the poem that we heard. Was it Maxim's poem? Who was reading it?
So there is a few actors from Ann Arbor that we hired from the grant money, because I got an art grant. That's how it all came alive. But now, I'm like, all funds are spent on this exhibition and, translation. So there is I think Nicole, I know her first name, Nicole. I don't remember her last name. So there are a few actors in Ann Arbor that I know. So poems in English read by actors. There are readings in Ukrainian. It's just the community members and my friend did. One poem is read by Ira Vorobyova, actually. Божена літості лютості. Yes.
Number 5.
Yeah. So it was, Irina said so nicely, because I thought, people read it. I worried about, how it's all coming together. And she said, it's like, he just praying for Ukraine with these poems, and it was in a search for us. Well, I read some poems too. It was recording them. It was a communal pray. So the app will give you both text in both languages and reading in both languages. And my friend Juan Arzak made the app for us. So from this grant, it was so many people involved, translators and readers. I'm really fond of this app, actually.
Okay, thank you. That was very heartwarming.
Yes, thank you so much, Ira. Amazing project.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And please come anytime with just to sit with us and talk to us.
Yes.
Another project. We love to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope to see you soon.
Okay. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Thank you very
Героям слава!
very nice. Героям слава.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alina. Thank you, Ella. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Ira. Thank you, Alina.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.